And good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you guys so much for joining me here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News for our Monday recap. Looking forward to recapping the weekend with you guys and just really, getting into the news. And with that, let's start with our kids' corner. I didn't set up my videos this morning. Oh no, it's not here. No way. But we will play a different one. Luckily, I've got some backup videos for our kids' corner. So let's go with the one that I have right now.
Were playing tag at school, laughing loudly. But when Ryan tagged too hard, Lily stepped back, holding her arm. Lily gently said, "That hurt, Ryan. I like playing, but please be careful." Her voice was soft, but firm. Ryan nodded. "I'm sorry, Lily. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'll be gentle next time." Lily smiled and nodded. Later in class, Ryan offered Lily a pencil. He whispered, "Thanks for telling me how you felt. That helped me grow." At home, Lily told her mom, "I stood up for myself today. It felt good." Her mom hugged her proudly. The next day, Ryan waited for Lily before class. "Let's walk together," he said, showing more care and respect. From that day, Ryan played gently, listened more, and Lily felt safe. Their friendship grew with kindness and respect. True love and friendship always come with respect. When we listen, care, and honor others' feelings, our bonds grow stronger. Lily and Ryan were playing tag at school, laughing loudly.
Yes. And our bonds do go stronger, especially when we're able to talk to one another. And I think that's one thing that's missing. And that's something that I'm going to be covering today in my show is in its smallest measurement. I think the American citizens are like, we want to care for people. We want to make sure that people are okay, but we don't want to do it to our own detriment. Right. I hope I'm speaking correctly to somebody this morning. And we have people here in America that hate it. They hate the country. They hate the people in the country. They want the land, I guess, but they hate the people here. It's like they want to benefit from everything the country has to offer, but they hate the people that are here giving them the benefit. And the people giving them the benefit, they're like, hey, this is hurting. Why are you treating me this way? And the more the people are saying, hey, we don't want to be treated like this, we don't want to be bullied, we're getting bullied more. So when I play that video, it's just a reminder that there are times when you can tell people, hey, this is a boundary that I have, and they still might not respect it, right? Does that mean that you cower back and say, okay, I guess they're not going to respect me? No, you stand your ground and you stand for being respected. Do not cower back. And that is the moment that we're in right now. Like I said, it is very unfortunate that we are going through it as a country because it makes no sense. But you know what? These are the growing pains, right? These are the growing pains we're going through. And with that, let's get into honoring God with our body. So God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs. God, please help us to honor you with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. And if you are just joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, that is something that we go over daily. It is our daily prayer, just really honoring God with our body. So just let me make sure I'm keeping up with my notes here. So it seemed like there was a very exciting night at the Oscars. I did not watch it. I was asleep. Honestly, it was I had a long day yesterday. So I was kind of tucked away and you know, my bad, but I wanted to share some of the highlights and moments from the uh, the Oscars last night, and I want to start off with this video. Yeah, and interesting, and we'll find out more. But Sinners, uh, let's see, they won for Best Actor, Michael B. Jordan, and I'll be playing his speech for receiving that award. They also won for Best Original Screenplay, also won for Best Cinematography and Best Original Score. Okay, so they won, I guess they were nominated for roughly, let me go back to it. There we go. I was like, let me find it. Let me find it. Because I had to bring up the statistics. Because the one thing you'll notice is they did not win for Best Picture. Now you saw that stage performance that they did. That was actually part of the movie. I was like kind of shocked. I was like, wow, y'all were able to recreate that on the stage. Like that was crazy. Because when I saw it in the movie, I was like, it looked at all of the different sounds that we would consider ancient, right? Anything before us, right? We consider ancient or older. And they took all of these sounds from the tribes and from Chinese culture and from African, like all of these different cultures and backgrounds to hear the sounds that he was playing right there in that time in the blues. And that was roughly around the 1900s, right? Early 1900s. And so I'm like, wow. It was just really impressive, that whole movie, just the way things were done. So, shout out to Sinners. Best cinematography, they better won that one because it was really, really good. But I was saying, box office ranking between Sinners and One Battle After Another because I wanted to know like who made the most money, right? Because One Battle After Another, they got Best Picture. They won for Best Picture. So based on the 25, 26 office results, Sinner was significantly higher grossing film and a bigger commercial success than One Battle After Another. Now, I personally have not seen One Battle After Another. I've seen the commercials. I've seen Sinners a couple times because I had to watch it a couple of times because there were things that I missed because the movie is just like, it's intense. It's not, and a lot of people say, oh, it's just a vampire movie. It's not just a vampire movie. It goes really deep into socioeconomics within the Black community. So it's one of those things, if you're not dealing with it or if you don't have a connection to it, you'll just pass it off as another vampire movie. You will. You honestly will. But if you take a step back and go, wow, what was really going on during that time within these different communities, the Black community, the Asian community, the white community, right? In the South, bringing in the spiritual aspects, you really have a different lens when you bring in those other factors. Again, I didn't go see One Battle After Another. I didn't, not that I didn't care. I'm not going to say that. But, when something is not attracting you, you just don't go. I saw the highlights and I was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't draw me in personally. Okay. So with that, Sinners grossed over 369 million worldwide on a 90 to $100 million budget. So they made money back, right? Because a lot of times people will make money. They'll make a movie and they won't make as much back to just cover it, right? Can we just break even? But they made more than what it took to make the movie. So making it a major commercial success and one of the highest grossing original films of 2025. Now, One Battle After Another grossed roughly 209.6 million worldwide against an estimated 130 million to 175 million dollar budget. So they really only made, I would say, roughly 70 million. So if we go from the 175 million, they made a little bit less than 30 million back. Sinners made over 200 million back. The same. And it being considered a box office underperformer despite being a high grossing film. It was underperforming, but it grossed 209. But what it took to make it, right? You got to bring in those factors. Now, winner in revenue was Sinners. Profitability, Sinners broke even and made a substantial profit, with reports indicating it needed 185 million to break even. One Battle After Another suggested to reach its reported 300 million break even point. So Sinners was like, if we make 185 million, we're doing great. They made 369. One Battle After Another was like, we really need to make 300 million. They made 209. Right. Opening weekend, Sinners debuted at 48 million and impressed in April 2025. One Battle After Another opened with 22 million. Now, the reason why I wanted to break this out and do this is because I want people to see, just because you're the highest grossing film doesn't mean you're going to get Best Picture. You would think you would. You would think that's just automatic. Everybody wanted to come see it. Doesn't mean your Best Picture. So award season. So One Battle After Another won Best Picture at the 2026 awards. Sinners broke records with 16 nominations, winning 4, right? And both films were released by Warner Brothers. Okay, so like I said, I just wanted to bring that out. And then I took it a little bit deeper because you know how I get, y'all. I want to research even more. I said, how was One Battle After Another chosen as Best Picture, even though the movie Sinners brought in more box office funds? Okay. It says, however, Sinners did not win Best Pictures. It had an extraordinary awards run, earning a record-breaking 16 Oscar nominations, right? Despite that, One Battle After Another emerged as a winner. It had strong precursor support, and this means in directing and picture categories from various guilds, and aligned with what Academy voters often prioritize. So people were like, who are these Academy voters? Well, guess what? Anybody can be. Anybody. So you can, if you would like to see a difference in the Academy Awards, you can go and you can apply to be a voter. Now, with that said, it does take a commitment. You do have to watch all of the movies in earnest. You have to vote for them earnestly. You have to do your job if you are going to work with the Academy, but it can be done. See, a lot of us don't know that. So I'm just letting you in on something. I used to work in the entertainment industry, and so there's a few things I know about behind the scenes. So box office success does not determine Best Picture winners. The Academy Awards are voted on by roughly 10,000 industry members, actors, directors, producers, etc. You guys would fall into that etc. part, who rank films based on artistic merit, storytelling, direction, cultural relevance, innovation, and personal taste, not ticket sales or profitability. Historically, blockbusters or high grossing films rarely win Best Picture unless they also deliver exceptional prestige elements. Titanic in 1997 or Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King in 2003. Voters tend to favor films seen as important, original, or technically masterful over pure crowd pleasers. Recent examples show independent or mid budget dramas often triumph over bigger earners. Yeah. But I just wanted to break that down for everybody because there might be some people kind of in their feelings about this, like, hey, why? Why didn't sinners get more accolades than they got? Like, what is this going on? Well, it's part of the process. So if you got people in the industry voting on this, sometimes people pick who their friends are. Let's just be real. And if I got more friends than you, they're going to side with me. It shouldn't be that way, but it is what it is, right? So let's see Michael B. Jordan accept his award. Is what they do with a lot of these films. Even if it's not Best Picture, they will reprise and they will redistribute the film. And so they'll put it back out into movie theaters for, maybe a selected time. But you'll be able to go see it on the big screen if you haven't gotten to. What I would like for them to do, I don't know if they did it, is put it in IMAX. Have it reformatted, put it in IMAX for a selected time, show it in some certain cities so people can see it in different capacities. That would be cool. That would be cool. I'm just spitballing. It's just me, right? So there's also one other video that I wanted to share with you. Just a lighter moment for Mr. Jordan after winning Best Actor. Yes, he's at In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger. Not some bougie restaurant. With his Oscar.
Y'all back up, back up, back up.
Shout out to the staff of In-N-Out Burger. That had to be awesome.
Digital.
If you're ever I think this is the one that taking selfies with people. I mean, he could have been anywhere, but he chose In-N-Out. Proud of you, bro. Proud of you for choosing In-N-Out Burger because it's one of the few bastions in restaurants where they sell real food. Like they have real potatoes. I would say kind of similar to Five Guys, right? Real potatoes. They cut up their own potatoes. Real meat. They do not pre-freeze and have little discs of meat. Like all the meat is fresh pressed in that little thin type order. I like In-N-Out. There's one of my children. She's like, I can't stand In-N-Out, but I like In-N-Out Burger. I think it's really cool. And like I said, shout out to In-N-Out Burger. That had to be really, really cool to have that happen. So, hey, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. And let's get into some of our trending topics on X. We got to do the top 3. And they obviously change by the end of my show. But these are the top 3 for this morning. So we're going to get into the first one here. The first one is Jimmy Kimmel. He calls U.S. a ridiculous country at his after party. Wow. And in what country do you have freedom of speech where you can call your own country ridiculous? But you got freedoms here. Now, see, for some people, they get offended Why don't you go somewhere else if you don't like America? That would be too much like being right. But see, people like it. Like I said, they like the comfort of being able to poo-poo on the country and no one can say anything to them because we have freedom of speech. I have the right to just not like the country, but you are prospering off of the land. It's very interesting. And to me, sometimes those things are going to catch up to you. They're going to catch up to you. So during a variety interview at the 98th Academy Awards on March 15th, Kimmel described the U.S. as a ridiculous country, but added it has always been so in a lighthearted, fun, Mr. T kind of way. He stressed his hopefulness despite the fatigue. Conservative voices on X responded sharply with accounts like Libs of TikTok and MAGA voice suggesting he leave. While offers for one-way tickets poured in, defenders were few, highlighting the exchange's reflection of broader cultural divides. And here's the thing. Yes, you do have the freedom to not like the country you're in. You can. You're being a toddler right now, in my opinion. Right? You're kicking and screaming on the floor because you're not getting your way. If you don't like what you see, then get involved and make a change and make a difference. But don't continue to stay on the sidelines and complain. That's my only thing. If you see something that you should be fixed, hey, I respect it. Fix it. But stop complaining. So from Libs of TikTok, Jimmy Kimmel says the United States is a ridiculous country. Who else would be more happy if Jimmy Kimmel were to leave the United States?
Are you exhausted?
Am I exhausted?
By the state of the world and knowing every night you've got to say something.
You should be looking at my face. And
No, but I mean,
yes, I'm exhausted. Of course, it's ridiculous. We live in a ridiculous country. We always lived in a ridiculous country, but it was always ridiculous in a fun Mr. T kind of way.
Right.
Now we've got a different Mr. T. Yeah.
Mr. T. Wow, I didn't think of it as a Mr. T.
Well, you know what? That's why I had to host the show.
Are you scared?
No, I'm not scared. No, I'm not scared.
You're hopeful?
Am I hopeful? I'm always hopeful. Yeah. I'm always hopeful.
Are you exhausted?
Am I exhausted?
And we have to remember, he's a comedian. He is who he is, right? Do I take Jimmy Kimmel seriously at everything he says? No, because he's a comedian. That's his lane. His lane is to make people laugh, whether you laugh or not. Like that's just who he is. That's what he's doing. He's not a politician. He's not. He is a citizen of this country. But thank you for letting us know where you stand. I'm just saying, as you benefit off of the land. Now, here's my thing. Other constituents, if you don't like what he's doing, don't watch his show. Don't buy his merchandise. Like, just don't participate with him. So if he can't be enriched by you, maybe he'll end up working at In-N-Out Burger. I don't know. I'm just saying. Just keep it moving. Now, for the next top story, it is 4 shootings disrupt Daytona Beach spring break crowds. So over the March 14th, 16th weekend, Volusia Sheriff's Office confirmed 4 shootings in Daytona Beach, including 1 at a bar, 1 near a gym, and 2 on the beach that injured a single person expected to recover. Thank goodness. So video showed shoulder-to-shoulder crowds scattering under umbrellas and tents with police from multiple agencies rushing to restore order after Sheriff Mike Chitwood's pre-weekend warnings on fighting and drugs. Frustrated visitors described unruly behavior like traffic blocking, dancing, and gridlock, ruining family trips. As the sanctioned event drew urban crowds unlike the college partying of Daytona's 1980s and 90s heyday. And I was never one, people would be like, yeah, let's go. I was like, why do you want to go where all the chaos is? Like, that was always my thing. I was like, if I'm going to do vacation, I want to be somewhere where it's peaceful. So This is USA News. It says we slowed the video of the spring breakers running from a perceived threat at Daytona Beach. What stands out to you? It's time to seriously consider putting all spring breakers on a remote island somewhere away. Ooh, that's strong words. Strong words. So are you saying that most of the people in here are melanated and that they shouldn't, you know, be on the soil? But my question goes back to who were the perpetrators causing the nonsense, right? And that could be of any nationality. Unfortunately, this is where people go of all nationalities. I mean, you can go down to parts of Daytona and Miami and you will see some of everyone. You really, really will. So prayers for those people recovering, and hopefully they are okay. And also, families that took their children down there, that they didn't see too many traumatic events that they'll have to recover from. And then our last top three is a Virginia bill. Okay. Virginia passes a bill banning visible handguns in unattended vehicles. Okay. So you can't set your handgun, I guess, on the dashboard. Like, who's doing that? Like, that's weird. I don't know who's doing that, but that's awkward. So House Bill 110, sponsored by Del Amy Lawfer, who's a Democrat, prohibits visible handguns in unattended vehicles on public property statewide, with up to $500 in civil penalties and towing allowed. Earlier versions drew sharp criticisms from exempting General Assembly members near the Capitol, a provision conservatives called hypocritical and amplified online by figures like Senator Ted Cruz. The final version passed the Democrat-controlled House 60-37 and Senate 21-18 on March 14th, now heading to Governor Abigail Spanberger amid Virginia's heated gun safety debates. I think that's kind of awkward. I'm like, why would you have to pass it? Like, how many cars are rolling around Virginia where people are just leaving their handguns on, like on a seat or where it's visible in the car, unattended? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's just weird. That's weird. In the first place, that you would even have to think to write a law like that. But is there a slippery slope to this law? I'm just saying. Will it become a situation where it's if it's not in the glove compartment and maybe somebody has it under their seat? I'm just saying, I'm just making things up, but I'm like, I'm not trying to be ridiculous, but that is a ridiculous law to me that is passed in the state, because why are you messing with people's Second Amendment? This is a slippery slope. Truly a slippery slope. And you keep saying it's for people's safety, but the only people that keep ending up with guns are people that we know should not have guns, but they're not being handled properly, and they're being given medications that lower their inhibitions. I mean, what's going on? What's really, really going on? So Libs of TikTok says, I'm not saying that other word, Virginia Democrats are exempting themselves from a new gun control bill. The provisions of this section shall not apply to any member of the General Assembly. Right. So if you're in the General Assembly, you could just wild out. You could probably have a whole rifle in the dashboard. But hey, you're the General Assembly, so it doesn't apply to you. What's good for me and not for thee. I see a lawsuit coming on, but we'll see. We'll see. But those are your top three trending X. I wouldn't call them the X post, but they're the top trending topics on X. Oh my goodness, just interesting what's going on in our world. With that, we're going to get to our next bit of news, and this is a first that I've known about. So there's an Antifa cell members convicted in Prairie Land ICE Detention Center shooting. So I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was a shooting on ICE officers, and it was a coordinated effort. It wasn't spontaneous, like it was a coordinated effort. It happened in Texas. Well, this is the result of that. So 9 North Texas Antifa cell operatives were convicted today, and today would have been Friday, March 13th, by a federal jury in Fort Worth, Texas, for their roles in rioting, using weapons and explosives, providing material support to terrorist obstruction, and attempted murder of the Alvarado police officer and unarmed correctional officers at the Prairie Land ICE Detention Center on July 4th, 2025, announced U.S. State's Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, Ryan Raybould. Now, in a 12-day trial that began on February 23rd, 2026, jurors heard testimony from more than 45 witnesses and considered over 210 exhibits supporting the charges against 9 indicted defendants. Okay, I'm not reading all of their names, but there's 9 of them that pled guilty last year to 1 count of providing material support to terrorists. Because you got to remember, Donald Trump did put forth naming Antifa a terrorist organization. Everybody goes, it's not an organization, it's an ideology. Interesting how a whole ideology is extremely coordinated. I'm just saying. So Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization that has been allowed to flourish in Democrat-led cities, not under President Trump, said Attorney General Pam Bondi. Today's verdict on terrorism charges will not be the last as the Trump administration systemically dismantles Antifa and finally halts their violence on American streets. Because here's my thing, if it's such an ideology, why are people running around with Antifa signs? Why are people running around calling themselves Antifa if it's an ideology and not an organization? If it's an ideology, it should never come up again unless someone asks, like, why are you here? Oh, well, we support the Antifa ideology. Okay. But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. Sorry. That argument, it's kind of lost. Kind of lost. It's one thing or it's the other. And unfortunately, because of the way it's being carried out, it's functioning more like an organization and not an ideology. So just trying to get down to the meat of the matter. So trial testimony reflected that late at night on July 4th, at least 11 of the defendants rioted and attacked the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, which the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was using to house illegal aliens awaiting deportation. The defendants, dressed in black bloc, dark clothing, and with head and face coverings that concealed their identities, designed to hide each individual's identity, but also to aid and abet those members engaged in illegal acts by making members indistinguishable from one another to law enforcement. Evidence introduced at trial revealed that the defendants brought 11 firearms, body armor, and 11 military-grade first aid kits with tourniquets and other items for gunshot wounds to the scene of the attack. Many of these items were introduced by the government as exhibits. Additionally, fingerprint evidence linked many of the defendants to the items at the scene, and evidence obtained on phone locations supported that those who participated in the attack all turned off their phones and placed them in Faraday bags to prevent tracking on the night of the attack. So this is extremely coordinated. That's not an ideology. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Sorry. That's extremely coordinated. Yeah. So after Antifa cell members arrived at Prairieland, they began shooting off and throwing fireworks at the facility and vandalizing facilities at a guard shack in Prairieland. And here are some of the pictures from that. Yeah. Yeah. And then we have the timestamps of, I guess, emails. Here's one of the emails. The subject on the day before says there's a cop that's been involved in like every major shooting disaster in recent history. Let's say we had good intel on date time target combo. What would we do about it? Block roads, slash tires, something else. This is terrorist activity because they're talking about doing this against law enforcement and federal agents. You got to remember, ICE agents are federal agents. They're not just anybody, and their stuff is punishable. Minimum 5 years. Impeding their job. So you're blowing up their cars, you're impeding their job, you're impeding the ability for them to do the work. Y'all are talking about messing with people. What's wrong with you? So it says, in this last email says, try to confront a turnout of a lot of people. Wow. My thinking is we can go out and do whatever at any time, but picking a good confrontation is about building momentum. Wow. Try to confront and turn out a lot of people. This is just, it's sick. So here's, I guess, maybe posts that were done, files stored on Evatt's phone, listing Antifa's tactics, striking similar to the defendant's tactics. The key strategy is to be water, aka stay mobile, stay disruptive. I guess this must have been in some of their different chats. And tactics 2 says the black bloc is like Tor. The more people using it, the better it becomes. Wow. So I think the black bloc said that refers to the outfits that they were wearing to make, so they're just, you can't see them. So sad. It's sad that this has happened in our country. And I have the link to this so you guys can go through more of that information on that particular incident that happened. It's just like, whoa, what is happening to our country? That we have people that are turning on federal law enforcement for people that have broken the law that they're trying to get out. So ICE's job is to remove people that are here that have broken the law, period. And guess what? You came over here illegally, so you broken the law, period. End of discussion. Stop trying to justify people being here illegally. Stop. They need to go home. If they're not going to leave on their own, then they need to be removed. And that's just it. And that's ICE's job. That is their job. So to get into this emotional state where you think, well, we just need to stop them from doing their job, what is wrong with you? Like, really, what's wrong with you? But then you have organizations like No Kings and all these other, but yeah, and places like Walmart supports No Kings and all of these other, in my opinion, they're anti-American. Completely. And they are still walking around free as if nothing happened. That it's that part for me. At a certain juncture, there are some people that just need to go to prison, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people going to jail if that's what needs to happen. Now, I wanted to jump to one story because I want to kind of keep in the vein of why there are government entities that want to work against the people, which is weird. Like, why are you working against your own people? But hey, maybe that's how you get down, right? But I came across this video of this gentleman who lives in Virginia, and with certain things being passed or not passed right now, and I wanted to check this out so we can get more into this, and then we'll talk a little bit about these sanctuary cities and states.
Governor Abigail Spanberger took office, the first thing she did when she walked into the governor's mansion was sign an executive order mandating that local police no longer work with federal ICE immigration and customs enforcement officials. Essentially, if local police arrest someone who's in this country illegally, an illegal alien, they are not required, they should not contact federal authorities to let them know that they have someone who is in this country illegally in custody. It was a 180 from the way things worked under former Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican who was in office for 4 years prior to Spanberger, who is a Democrat. But last night in Lynchburg, the city of Lynchburg, Southside Virginia, we are seeing that city telling Governor Spanberger to take a hike. They will continue to work with ICE just as they have before. I'm Uriah Kaiser. Welcome to Virginia Insider, where we are giving you the news you need to take back your Commonwealth and your community. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new content about your Virginia. Want to bring this story to you here. The Lynchburg City Council voted unanimously to affirm the city's ongoing cooperation with federal law enforcement agencies. The resolution, which passed 6-0 with council member Jacqueline Temmer absent, states that the city will continue to partner with Virginia and federal agencies consistent with city practice and applicable law. The council members and police chief emphasized that measure does not create a new 287G partnership, but simply codifies the existing ad hoc cooperation. The vote followed a failed 2-4 substitute motion to direct Lynchburg PD to enter a formal 287G agreement. Now, those 287G agreements are essentially a cooperation with ICE. So local law enforcement arrests an illegal alien in a community. They bring them to the jail. They book them there. And while they're in the jail, a trained local law enforcement officer in the 287G program calls ICE to tip them off to say, hey, we've got an illegal immigrant in our jail. Please come and pick him up. Now, the outcome preserves Lynchburg's current approach to federal immigration matters amid Virginia's statewide policy shift. On February 4th, 2026, Governor Abigail Spanberger terminated all existing 287G agreements across the Commonwealth, ending formal participation by state and local agencies that had previously allowed trained officers to perform certain immigration enforcement functions under ICE supervision. Proponents argue the program improves access to federal criminal databases beyond the standard NCIC checks, provides equipment and funding for up to $7,500 per participating officer per quarter, and transportation reimbursements up to $100,000, and has produced significant arrests in other states, including.
Now, I wanted to stop him there. Now, did you just hear all of those benefits that the federal government is giving to the state? So they're basically, if it's like, okay, if you're going to work with us, we're going to provide you with funding that we know your state can't do. So when these states participate with 287G, they're getting funding from the federal government to assist. Why would you say, okay, I'm here now and we're just not going to do this? So you're going to put everybody at risk in your state. What is wrong with the Democratic Party? No, I'm going to say the party. I'm not going to say people, because the people, and there are certain people in the Democratic Party, they're just like, oh, well, my party says that we have to do this. So what is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with you? Like, really, what's wrong with you? You're just going to put people at risk. You want to look like Minnesota now. Because, yes, there is fraud going on in Virginia. Yeah, side issue. It's everywhere. Trust me. But when I see governors acting in this way, who are you supporting and protecting? Because you're not supporting the citizens of your state. That's obvious. You shut that down. You were just like, nope, we don't care about you. We care about the people that are here illegally over you. And we're going to make sure that the people that are here illegally benefit over you, the American citizen. That's what that says. And you can't take it back. You can't sanitize it and make it something it's not. You would rather support illegal activity than have your state be safe from people here illegally. Like, how did you even get into office? Who voted for this? Virginia. What's wrong with y'all? Because you're caught up in your feelings and you're not voting for your best interest. That's your problem. That's your problem. And that's the problem with the whole country, in my opinion. Get out of your feelings and start looking at this from a business perspective, because you're making an emotional decision. I'm sorry, you're in an emotional state voting for a long-term decision. We don't like Republicans anymore. We're going to go this way. Okay. And that's going to get you this. That's going to get you no safety. That's going to get you putting illegals over actual United States residents, because that's what they do. That one's happening every day on time. That's what you wanted? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Or did this person just lie to you and make you believe that they were going to do right by you? But now that they're in there, showed you what happened with the gun laws. Virginia, y'all are wild. Y'all are wild with the why. Okay? Going on.
40,000 in Florida and 650 in West Virginia shortly after its implementation. Opponents, including several council members and public speakers, contend that the program diverts limited local resources, risks eroding community trust in police, especially among immigrant residents, and carries the potential for discrimination or civil rights litigation. The Lynchburg police chief told council the department already cooperates regularly with federal partners, including the FBI and other agencies, on drug investigations and other criminal matters. When Lynchburg PD arrests someone and transports them to the Lynchburg Adult Detention Center, essentially it's jail, the jail staff check immigration status and notify ICE if that person is in the U.S. illegally. Councilmember Chris Feraldi, who's been very vocal on X about all of this since Governor Spanberger signed that order, introduced the original resolution, describing it as, quote, common sense, an affirmation of existing practice, regardless of the actions in Richmond. Now, he referenced high-profile cases elsewhere, including the killing of Stephanie Mentor in Fairfax County. Now, Stephanie Mentor was the 41-year-old mother who was stabbed to death at a Fairfax County bus stop on February 23rd. The Department of Homeland Security issuing a statement saying an illegal alien, Abdul Jallo, with more than 30 prior arrests, is the one who killed the 41-year-old mother. ICE is asking Virginia and Governor Spanberger to notify its agency when suspects like this one, Abdul Jallo, who's been in the U.S. illegally since 2012, and again has racked up more than 30 charges since his time in the U.S., including rape, malicious.
Okay, this man has been in the country for 14 years. 14 years. And as you will hear from this commentator, he's been released every time. And now he's killed somebody. See, they put the Lincoln Riley Act in place to kind of, clamp down on this. But as much as I'm appreciative of the act, how is it triggered? And who's punished if something like this happens? Like, what is the compensation? Because you can't compensate for life. Life is priceless and precious. Well, what's going to happen with this family losing this person, their loved one, senselessly. Are we supposed to just get to a point in America where we're just like, yeah, it's cool, somebody else has died? No. Because see, and until it's at your front door, you don't care. And that's what's happening with a lot of these government officials making this decision. See, it's not at your front door. It's not your loved one. It's not somebody that you care about. Obviously, you're psychopaths and sociopaths, so you're okay with people dying. And you're in these positions and you shouldn't be there. You just shouldn't. You should not be there.
Just wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, trespassing, larceny. All of these charges he's racked up while here in the U.S. illegally, and he keeps being released from jail. ICE asking Governor Spanberger to work with its agency to let local law enforcement communicate with it when they release somebody back into the community so they can come and pick up this individual and others like him. The Blue Ridge chapter of the Police Benevolent Association strongly opposed any council action compelling the chief to join 287G. Henrik, they called the move an overreach into operational decisions that would best be left up to the chief. And public commenters largely align with the chief's position. They said there's no substantial data showing 287G programs reduce crime compared with non-participating cities. The resolution maintains Lynchburg's current practice, routine cooperation with federal agencies on criminal matters without assuming ICE's civil immigration enforcement functions. Councilman Chris Farrelly taking to X saying Lynchburg will continue to fully cooperate with federal law enforcement, including DHS and ICE. City Council unanimously approved my resolution to ensure business as usual in our city, regardless of what Richmond Democrats may concoct next. The comments here are right here. Virginia voters vote no on 21. Don't let Fairfax Karen dictate your politics. Fairfax Karens. This obviously a reference here to the April 21st gerrymander referendum here in Virginia. On April 21st, voters will go to the polls to decide whether or not to allow Democrats to redraw congressional maps all across the state, turning what is today a 6 Democrat, 5 Republican map into a 10 Democrat, 1 Republican map, essentially power grabbing for the Democrats for the foreseeable future, with all of the newly drawn congressional districts span out from Northern Virginia, which is well known for its high concentration of Democrat voters who would essentially control the most of the state should that resolution pass. More comments here under the councilman's post. Good for you. I just added Lynchburg to my candidate of retirement areas. That's my hometown. Amherst County, born and raised. All Virginia cities need to do this and rescind personal property tax in their cities, make it viral. Exactly. Do not comply with unconstitutional laws. For thee, but not for me mindset. Richmond has brought us to this point. Stanton loves you. You guys in Lynchburg got to arrest our state back from the commies. I'm not sure if we can legislate our way out of it. Stephanie Mentor no longer has a voice in all of this. She was the woman from Fredericksburg stabbed and killed at a Fairfax County bus stop. WJLA TV in Arlington spoke with the family and reported this. Stephanie Mentor was a mother, a daughter, and a sister. Stephanie Mentor was killed in Fairfax County. Her accused killer, Abdul Jallo, is in the country illegally and has a lengthy criminal history. However, he was repeatedly let free after Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney Steve Toscano's office dropped several serious charges against Jallo before her death. Quote, she always had that bright smile from early on and the love of everybody, said Cheryl Mentor, Stephanie Mentor's mother. She loved people. She was the most amazing. She was the friendliest person I think I've ever met in my life. She never went anywhere without a smile on her face. I think she smiled when she was angry just to get through it sometimes, but she always had a smile on her face. She was always trying to be the most positive thing she could be and outgoing. Bible verses she would pull from, it was like she memorized half the Bible. She could always pull them out of thin air, along with the chapter and the verse. She always amazed me with that. Cheryl Mentor gave her daughter a Bible as a Christmas gift. On Monday, Cheryl Mentor opened it to find this message from Stephanie Mentor. Merry Christmas 2024. The Word of God itself is a gift, but this year it's extra special because the particular Bible my mother chose as a gift for Christmas. She knows my love for the Lord and how journaling and coloring helps my emotional, mental stability. So, Lord, thank you for providing, protecting, and loving and giving me the most grace for the moments I need, the note read. Cheryl Mentor said her daughter was there for people when they needed it, pointing to all the people who came to her funeral, which was this past weekend, and wrote notes in her memory. Cheryl Mentor and her two sons said Stephanie Mentor's death could have been prevented had the Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney prosecuted her accused killer in 3 prior cases where Jallo was charged with felonies for stabbing and beating strangers in Fairfax County. Despite several police warnings about how dangerous Jallo was, including a warning that predicted something like this would happen, Descano dropped charge after charge. He's the Commonwealth attorney, Steve Descano, in Fairfax County, allowing Jallo to walk free. Jallo has been arrested more than 30 times. Descano's office dropped most charges that came across his desk, including an assault charge and 2 malicious wounding charges in 2024. It should have never have happened, said Gary Mentor, one of Stephanie's brothers. Jallo should have never been out on the streets. He had a final order of removal to be sent back to his country back in 2020. That should have happened 6 years ago. We've been covering this story. We'll continue covering the fallout from the murder.
And my question comes back to, what is our recourse with these politicians making decisions to continue to release people that are violent? And it's weird because they go, oh, well, people that are here illegally, they're not committing these crimes because you're not tracking them, because they're not arrested. And if they are apprehended, you release them. So yeah, the numbers are going to look crazy. They're not going to look like they're doing anything. What are you doing? See, I want to know who's going to be responsible for this. Because there's no responsibility. It's like, okay, you heard what that gentleman said. He kept saying all the things that this person did and kept getting released for. He'd been here since 2012. He committed all these crimes. He was supposed to be deported in 2020. It's 2026. Okay. Still just a revolving door. Oh, you can't keep him. He's here illegally. Yeah, he committed a crime. Yeah, he's been violent. I guess he hasn't killed anybody yet. So yeah, we can just keep releasing him. So all the other people that he injured along the way, where did they get any type of restitution? Whose fault is this? Like, at the end of the day, somebody needs to be responsible for this and go to prison. Period. I don't care if it's the mayor, the sheriff. I don't care who it is. Whoever you are, you, the person releasing this person back out to terrorize the community, you need to be in prison. Period. When is it okay for these people to just act with impunity illegally? It's weird. So yeah, I had to look it up. I had to kind of dig a little bit because I don't understand. I do not understand any of this. So what I did was I went in. I'm trying to think, did I do this? Because I did 2 different searches, y'all. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I took one from the other. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to have the 10th Amendment outlined, right? Just to understand, what these politicians can and cannot do, right? So the 10th Amendment to the United States is part of the Bill of Rights, okay? It was ratified in December 15th, 1791, as it appears officially, right? It says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people, meaning that there are laws that the states can put in place that may not necessarily be in the Constitution, right? But here's the thing that I learned about the law: you can give people more, but not less. Okay, that makes sense. Like in California, they've given people more protection. If you call to any company, you're being recorded, right? They record all the calls that come in to any type of customer service database within the borders of California. That's giving more and not less. But in my opinion, when these sanctuary states and cities are releasing people who have broken the law, like blatantly, like you've broken the law, and they keep releasing to them, they're being a burden on the people, and they're writing policies that are a burden to the people. Where where do we the people get to say enough? Stop it. You're going to stop abusing me with these policies that aren't working for me, an American citizen. They're working against me. Like, when is enough enough? That's all I'm saying. When is enough enough? So, for a simple breakdown, powers not delegated. So, any authority not explicitly given to the federal national government by the Constitution itself, okay, kind of simple, nor prohibited, and that the Constitution does not specifically forbid the states, okay, are reserved, is reserved, kept by, okay. So to the states respectively, or to the people, the individual states themselves, or directly to the people. But here's the thing: the people are not being protected anymore by these policies. Like, what is going on? Now, it embodies federalism, the division of power between national government and the states. The federal government is a government of limited enumerated powers, only what the Constitution lists, right? Everything else defaults to the states or the people, not left in a vacuum or automatically federal. It serves as a rule of construction, a guide for interpreting the Constitution to prevent overreach by national government. So a lot of people have been talking about how, Trump has overreach, right? He's coming in, but he's trying to save the people from these crazy people. Like, well, what else is he supposed to do? Be like, sorry, if I come in there, it's overreach. I can't help you, even though your states and your city governments are violating your First Amendment rights, because you're supposed to be able to have freedom and life, liberty, and justice at its basic measurement, in its most basic. And they're fighting against that. It's very crazy. So I said, what if some states are violating the rights of their citizens with policies that contradict the Constitution? I'm just saying. Just saying. So if a state enacts or enforces policies, laws that violate the rights of its citizens under U.S. Constitution, such as freedom of speech, due process, equal protection, or other Bill of Rights protections applied to the states via the 14th Amendment, the state action is invalid to the extent it conflicts with the federal Constitution. So this is governed primarily by the Supremacy Clause, which makes the Constitution the supreme law of the land, binding on state judges and overriding conflicting state laws. So key mechanisms, right? Judicial review and challenges in court. The primary remedy is a lawsuit challenging the state policy as unconstitutional. These cases can start in state courts, okay, or directly in federal courts. A common vehicle for individual claims against state or local officials, Title 42, USC Code, USC Section 1983, a federal civil rights statute that allows people to sue state actors, officials, agencies, etc., for depriving them of constitutional rights under color of state law, damages, injunctions to stop enforcement, or declaratory relief are possible outcomes. So in many states, similar state law remedies exist for violations of state constitutional rights. So outcome, if a court of finds a violation. The offending state law or policy is declared unconstitutional and void or struck down to the extent it violates the federal constitution. It becomes unenforceable. Okay. Courts won't uphold convictions, fines, or other penalties based on it. The Supreme Court of the United States has struck down hundreds of state laws over the years for violating federal constitutional rights, segregation laws, restrictions on speech, voting rights barriers. Who can challenge it? Affected citizens, um, individuals, groups, organizations withstanding, showing personal harm. Sometimes the federal government sues states indirectly in cases involving widespread violations. State attorney generals or local officials rarely challenge their own state laws, but private parties or advocacy groups frequently do. Limits and realities. Not every policy disagreement rises to constitutional violation. Courts defer to states on many issues unless a clear federal right is infringed. Some states apply a higher burden when state courts review federal constitutional challenges. The 10th Amendment reserves powers to states or the people, but it doesn't allow states to violate federally protected rights. Those rights act as a floor that states cannot go below. Like, remember, I was saying more than the law and not less. So if you look at the law as the floor, you can have more, but you can't go below it, right? That's the thing. So if a state policy violates on any state constitution, not a federal one, right? Remedies are handled entirely in state courts because each state functions differently. They have different needs, right? And so that makes sense. But what we have seen consistently with the Democratic Party, sorry, I'm not trying to pick on anybody's party, but it is what it is. You've consistently said, we are going to violate your rights and release these people that are here illegally back out into the community, even though they've committed crimes. I'm sorry. That's what it is. I don't know why it's not being challenged. I don't know why these people aren't being taken to court. Maybe they are, and I just haven't seen it. But that makes sense to me. This woman should be with us today. Her life was taken by somebody who should have never been released. He should have been deported. He should have been in El Salvador, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care where he's from. You need to go to the maximum prison, okay? Period. That's where you should be. But you're alive. She's gone. I'm just saying, when is enough going to be enough? When is enough going to be enough? Now, let's quickly look here. I know I keep saying quickly and I keep getting into it. Sorry, y'all. But I took that last search that I did and I meant to use a video. That's why I said, based on this video, it's just me. It's just me. But it did give me some information. It says, can you make a list of other cities and states around the country that are writing policies to keep ICE out of their states and cities? Also, in carrying out those policies, are they violating protecting their constituents? Probably spelled constituents wrong, but it knew what I meant. So, sanctuary states and cities in the U.S. So, based on the shared content, and that he took it from my little 10th Amendment rant, they'll provide me states, right? So it's okay. So exact number fluctuates, but as of the March 2026, there are approximately 12 to 13 states and over 100 localities with such policies. So this isn't just isolated to certain, because when we hear about it, we think, oh, maybe it's just one or two. No, we only have 50 states and 12 to 13 of them are doing this. Now, we know the big ones: California, Illinois, New York. Those are the biggies. But there's so many other things that are happening. There's Dearborn, Michigan. There's Austin, Texas. Things are happening. Why in the world are these politicians allowing this? That is the biggest question that I have. All right. Now, here's some sanctuary states. Like I said, you've got California. Now, these states have statewide laws or executive orders that restrict cooperation with ICE to varying degrees, often prohibiting local agencies from using resources for federal immigration enforcement unless required by law. Now, in California, they have SB 54. They call it the Values Act, and it limits ICE access to jails and school. So if they, let's say you're in California, this illegal commits a crime, even though they know that person's here illegally and they committed a crime, their state policy says you can't call ICE to have this person picked up here. But they keep turning them out back into the general public. So if ICE then is tracking this person and then they come into the neighborhood and somebody gets hurt or injured, it's ICE's fault. See how that's working? It's disgusting. It is disgusting. I don't know when enough is going to be enough, you guys. I really don't know. Now, they've got Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota. We all know about Minnesota. New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, and the District of Columbia. And even though Virginia hasn't been added, it can be added now. It can be added now. Now, sanctuary cities and counties. So they've got Los Angeles, San Francisco. Los Angeles is a Los Angeles County, San Francisco. I didn't think their county was named San Francisco County, but I guess it is. Chicago, Cook County, New York, Seattle, Boston, Philadelphia, Denver, Austin, Portland, Minneapolis, and San Diego. Now, these are just some of them. This is not an exhaustive list because it said over 100. Okay. These are just the ones we know about. Now, San Diego County, for example, jail access restrictions for ICE, which means ICE can't go in and get somebody even if they've maybe murdered somebody. That's what these cities and states are doing. Why are you protecting all of this evil? Like, it does break my heart. Yes, you do hear that lump in my throat because, just because it's not at my door doesn't mean it's not at somebody else's. Okay? And that's a problem. And that's something that we're just not talking about. And it's gross. So in summary, these policies are legal tools for states and cities to prioritize local needs, and research suggests they support rather than violate resident protection by fostering safer, more cooperative communities. If federal tensions escalate, some jurisdictions may adjust, but core protections remain intact. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be any safer. They keep saying people are going to be safer. No, they're not. They're really not. So under the Constitution's 10th Amendment, states and localities cannot be forced to enforce federal immigration laws, and they can't be. This is where you get the federal overreach conversation. So courts have consistently ruled that the federal government cannot withhold unregulated funding to punish sanctuary jurisdictions. Actually, they can. And I know that they're still in that back and forth, but here's the deal with the federal funding. It does come with strings attached to the purse. It just does. So sanctuary policies do not actively obstruct ICE. They don't prevent federal agents from acting independently, but limit voluntarily local assistance, which is constitutionally protected. However, federal law, Title 8, Section 1373 and Section 1644 requires information sharing on immigration status. So policies that fully block this could face challenges, though most sanctuaries comply minimally. Yeah, so they are kind of jumping back and forth over the line. So I asked, in some instances, innocent Americans have died at the hands of people here illegally. Do constituents have the right to sue their local governments for putting their lives in danger? Because I think that's the bigger question, because right now, like I said, it's bad. But if you are at the local level and you see people doing what they're not supposed to be doing, vote them out. They need to be replaced with somebody else who's going to do the job. And if they're not going to do the job, you vote them out too. And everybody be like, wow, we've had like, 3 different commissioners in 3 years. Yeah, because they're not doing their job. And if they're not going to do their job, they got to go. They got to go. You're not going to be here not doing the job that we want you to do. And that's where the power of the people comes together. Now, legal rights to sue local government for harm for sanctuary policies. Now, based on U.S. law as of 2026, constituents, residents do not have the straightforward legal right to successfully sue their local governments, cities, counties, or states for deaths or injuries caused by undocumented immigrants, even if sanctuary policies played a role in the perpetrator's presence or release. Did you hear what I just said? There's nothing here for us. That's why they know they can release them with impunity, but there's more. So sovereign immunity. States and local governments are generally protected from lawsuits under the 11th Amendment and State Tort Claims Acts. This means they can't be sued for damages unless they waive immunity or a specific exception applies, such as gross negligence or civil rights violations under Title 14, Section 1983. Courts have ruled that sanctuary policies which limit cooperation with ICE do not violate federal law in any way that creates private liability, as states aren't required to enforce federal immigration rules, right? The 10th Amendment anti-commandeering doctrine. Simply put, not honoring ICE detainers isn't considered a failure of duty that exposes governments to suits from private citizens. And see, that's where I have a problem, because your lack of fiduciary duty has put somebody else in jeopardy. That's my problem. Now, no federal cause of action. There's no existing federal statute allowing individuals to sue sanctuary jurisdictions directly for harms linked to immigration non-cooperation. Attempts to use civil rights laws fail because courts find no constitutional right is violated by these policies. Federal lawsuits by the DOJ against sanctuary cities in 2025 are government actions to enforce compliance, not tools for private victims. Now, public and safety causation issues, even if immunity weren't a barrier, proving causation is hard. Courts require showing the policy directly caused the harm, not just that the perpetrator was undocumented or released early. This is why they know they can continue to do this evil. So research indicates sanctuary policies don't correlate with higher crime rates overall, weakening negligence claims. And then they list some cases and propose changes to allow suits. So while current law doesn't support these claims, there are ongoing efforts to create a right to sue. Federal bills, the Justice for Victims in Sanctuary Cities Act, has been introduced multiple times, 2019, 2024, and 2025, by Republicans like Senator Tom Tillis and Ted Budd. It would allow victims or families of felonies by undocumented immigrants to sue jurisdictions that ignored ICE detainers or notifications seeking compensatory damages. To bypass immunity, it conditions federal grants on waiving sovereign protection. So as of early 2026, it hasn't passed, but gained tractions post 2024 elections. We need something, right? Now, state level proposals in states like Texas, bills like HB 1645 in 2024 would allow injured parties to sue local entities with sanctuary policies under state law, overriding local immunity for non-compliance with immigration statutes. Similar measures in North Carolina and elsewhere aim to hold governments accountable, but face legal challenges. So they have to put another measure in place to combat this evil, because like I said, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I'm telling you guys, this is up to us. Now we can either sit back and take it, or we can fight. I choose to fight. because I don't want that at my door. I don't want to get a phone call that something's happened to one of my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want that. But people don't think about the law like that. They just think about, well, it's not affecting me, so why should I care? Don't have that attitude. Because I'm telling you, just as you have that attitude, it will be at your front door. Just saying. I'm just saying. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some more of this news on our Monday recap here on Unfiltered Vision News. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you on the other side.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Sorry about that. um, let's see. My internet like kicked out and I was playing the commercial and I was like, all right, cool. And it just like, I was like, okay. And with that, let's do a shameless plug for Starlink. Yeah, shout out to Starlink. Because see, if I had Starlink, that would have not happened. And so in a couple months, I'm going to have Starlink and I'm going to share about my experience with it. But I know that Starlink was the reason why, people in the Appalachians and in Tennessee, when we had that horrible storm about a year ago, they were able to get back online. Okay. So shout out to Starlink. And yeah, let's, you know, put it to the cable companies, right? Let's cut the cord with cable and let's get Starlink. You might not like Elon Musk. I'm not a fan of some of the things that he wants to do, but he's a tech person. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's your world. You like that stuff. Like you're okay with like components attached to your body and all that stuff. And hey, if that's your thing, cool. But there's some technology that you have that I kind of like, right? I like Starlink. I'm going to say that right now. So we need to get a happy medium. We need to be able to say, you know what? You know how like he gave those people the finger at that one meeting because he did that. It was hilarious. We need to be able to say we don't want that, none of that, but we like this, and you better be nice to us, or we're gonna put you out of business. Like in my opinion, that just needs to be our stance. We need to be a little bit tough with some things. Okay. Let's see, where were we at? We are here. I wanted to go over some news with you guys. I'm going to review some other stuff tomorrow. But let's get into some of this news here. Let me see. Let me share my screen. And again, I do apologize for the brief lapse, but apparently my internet just shut off. I was like, okay, so I do have my hotspot available just in case it drops out again so I can continue on with the broadcast. But as you can see, Tucker Carlson claims the CIA preparing foreign agent charges. The White House reportedly denies the claim. Now, the CIA, they're wild. They've been wild since their inception. It's like you think about Central Intelligence Agency. This means, okay, great, we're going to have Central Intelligence. Sounds good, right? Sounds like, okay, we're all going to come together and know about what's happening around the world. And they have been, oh my goodness, y'all are just trash. I mean, just horrible, the things that you've done against the American people. We can start with COINTELPRO. The latest was Arctic Frost. Presidents have died behind y'all being put together. Like, you're just a disgusting agency. And I don't know why our tax dollars are still paying for it. Like, we need to have a meeting, okay? Like a real one. Like, I'm not talking about, because see, first of all, the people that are there now, these representatives in the House and in the Senate, you're supposed to be there because we, the people, put you there as representatives for us. You're not doing your job. You're doing a horrible job. I mean, absolutely horrible. I want all of you in prison. That's where you should be. Like, can we just drop them all off on Easter Island and leave them there to their own devices? I don't care what those devices are. But that needs to be the punishment. You can go Leavenworth, as far as I'm concerned. And we'll just leave you there. Because that's where you need to be. You're not helping the American people. Now, if the CIA is actually doing this, and this was supposed to be a tip, now I have some videos linked, right, that I will have for you guys in the repost. But apparently Tucker Carlson has claimed that the CIA is spying on him and preparing a criminal referral for the Department of Justice, though the White House has reportedly denied the claim. Now, let's do a little backpedaling. This came out in like 2021, and now it's again resurfaced. So this isn't new. That's why I just want to let everybody out here know it's not brand spanking new. It's just something that's been ongoing. Okay, and so it's come around again. Now, Carlson has made claims in a short video he posted on X March 15th, where he claimed that he was being investigated for contact with Iranian officials before the war. He is a journalist. Yes, he can contact other foreign entities. He does not have to register with FARA to do that. What is wrong with you? Y'all are weird. So anyway, conservative infighting. So here we go. Conservative commentator Laura Loomer welcomed the prospect and made several posts about it. Among them, she wrote, "I can't wait to see Tucker Carlson go to prison. And I just hope Tucker Carlson, trying to, and match him up with Qatar, has a good Jewish lawyer." Really? Fox News host Mark Levin, a vocal critic of Carlson, waded in that Carlson could have committed treason or could just be a mentally ill drama queen. He's a journalist. What are y'all doing? Just messy. So Megyn Kelly, she's right leaning, reposted Tucker's claims, ostensibly prompting Levin to call her an emotionally unhinged, lewd, petulant wreck. Kelly replied by calling him Mark, and saying he tweets about me obsessively in the crudest, nastiest terms possible. Candace Owens. Oh, Candace is throwing in this too, y'all. Oh, now it's a party. She wrote, "If they come for Tucker, we ride at dawn." Oh my. So replying to a post where Loomer called Kelly Grandma Groiper, Owens wrote, "She objectively looks at least a decade younger than you do, Larry." Okay. This is messy. Like, people just don't know how to argue in the background. They just don't. They don't. But then again, is this a distraction from something? Oh yeah, there's that conflict going on in Iran. Yeah, let's talk about that. And we're also in a government shutdown. Let's just talk about how TSA agents are getting paid. Oh wow. So Trump's take. In the wake of the bickering, President Trump praised Levin in a long Truth Social post where he said Levin is a truly great American patriot who is somewhat under siege by other people for far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. Previously, on March 5th, Trump told Jonathan Karl, "Tucker has lost his way. I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first. And Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that." Now, the reason why people call MAGA a cult is because MAGA does not have any parameters around it. Like, if you ask somebody, why are you supporting Make America Great Again? You will get several different answers because it's very vague in what making America Great Again looks like to Americans of different ethnicities, to members of the public that are of different socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Now, say they set up Make America Great Again, and they, like the Redemption Party, had 3 parameters. Okay, we want to make sure that making America great again means we're not going to spend the money of the taxpayers in a bad way. I'm just trying to make this stuff up. We're just not going to spend the money in a bad way, meaning we're not going to just send billions of dollars to, third world countries. I'm just making that up, right? We can say that's a part of making America great again, right? And we can say that because there's something called USADF where we send money to Africa. We've been sending money to Africa since 1980, right? Millions of dollars annually. They are a part of the appropriations bill every single year. And we could, and Make America Great Again, be like, okay, we're going to stop sending money like that, right? That makes sense. Okay, I like it. Financial. Okay, so we can get down with that. We can say we're going to have closed borders. I can get down with that, right? But you have to kind of package what you want this movement to be, because if you don't, it becomes a cult, because then people start holding on to it as if it has movement, and it doesn't. Your movement has become a cult, unfortunately, because there's no parameters around it. And people can just kind of do what they want willy nilly and call it MAGA when it may not be, or make America great again. So you have to put the foundation in place before you start these wonderful movements that just go awry. So now the White House scoop, after much of the feuding, Mark Caputo, uh, a White House reporter for Axios who leans left, sources told him there's no CIA investigation of Carlson. Okay, so for context, in 2021, like I was telling you guys, while he was still working as a Fox News host, Carlson said was a whistleblower at NSA told him he was being spied on as he was trying to arrange an interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin, right? The NSA denied the claim a year later. And I remember him saying that. He was like, again, he's a journalist. There are journalists from all over the world that come here and interview our politicians. And our journalists interview people from all over the world because that's their job. That's their job. That's what they signed up for. But because he was interviewing different people in Iran, oh my goodness, now the next thing, he's a foreign agent. FARA is for actual organizations, not for humans. So it sounds dumb. It sounds dumb. So this is how the media covered it. Tucker's claim and the subsequent feuding, which were widely viewed on X, didn't receive coverage from most major outlets. Several major sources, like the New York Post that leans right, the Independent that leans left, Newsweek, Mediaite, the Daily Mail covered the story. Now, they all covered the story. Now, Zero Hedge, that leans right, updated its headline to say the White House denied the claim, citing Caputo's reporting. As of early Monday, other outlets have not published headlines on the administration's reported denial. Now, Glenn Greenwald, who is Sinner, who was also involved in the feuding, published an opinion on his Substack. So again, to me, this is a lot of boo-hoo-hoo, ha-ha about nothing. But it does say a lot about how people view journalists and what they should and should not be doing. And I think it's interesting. Now, you know what? Taco is a journalist. He can say whatever he wants to. He's got freedom of speech. If he's wrong, he's wrong. If he's right, he's right. But throwing him under the bus and this whole infighting with the MAGA mindset, right? Who's in, who's out, and this whole thing. It's weird. It's weird. Y'all are weird. I just don't even know how else to put it. Like, pick a lane. Either you're going to be about America or you're not. And if you're about America, this is about the First Amendment and about protecting a journalist's right to be a journalist. Okay? You don't have to like the person. You don't even have to like what they say. But they have a right. It's really scary to me, like where we are and where we're going. So FCC head Carr says news broadcasters could lose licenses if they don't correct course. What? I'm just talking about the First Amendment. What are we talking about? He's threatened not to renew several news broadcasters' licenses unless they correct course in their coverage of the Iran war. Really? So, key quotes, President Trump took issue with mainstream reporting that Iranian forces had hit 5 American planes and wrote in Truth Social post, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, and other low-life papers. Oh my goodness. And media actually want us to lose the war. Their terrible reporting is the exact opposite of actual facts. Carr shared Trump's post and wrote, broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as the fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up. Ooh, is that a threat? The law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. That's true. The way they have been acting with impunity, so they should have been lost their licenses. We can take that back a couple of years, how they were reporting things that were very one-sided. But they will go back and say, well, it was the experts and it was this and it was that. Now, granted, they were still dealing under the Chevron Act. We didn't have the Chevron Act removed until 2024. So, yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of layers here. So for context, Carr, who was appointed by Trump in 2017 and served as one of the FCC's Republican commissioners during the Biden administration, was made chairman by Trump after his 2024 election victory. Days before the election, Carr criticized NBC for including Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live and not giving Trump, the Republican nominee, airtime under the FCC's equal time rule. Last month, the FCC pushed back against allegations of censorship after late night host Stephen Colbert claimed CBS News, that leans left, wouldn't air an interview he did with Democratic state candidate Representative James Tallarico because he wasn't giving equal airtime to Jasmine Crockett. But Jasmine Crockett had already been on Steve Colbert. So what are we talking about? Did everybody forget that? She was on the show. She wore yellow or something. Yeah. So she was on the show, but you're not going to air Tallarico? Weird. Again, weird. So this is how media covered. The story was widely covered by the left and center. The only outlet from the right all sides found coverage from was the Epoch Times. So where you at, Fox News? Come on now. This is something y'all like to talk about. Where are you? Just saying. They pick and choose what they want to do, right? They truly, truly do. They pick and choose. It's bad. Okay, you guys. But that is our broadcast for this Monday recap. I hope I was able to bring you some things. And if I didn't bring you everything, you can always check out All Sides at allsides.com. And what it does is it aggregates the news, as you just saw me read from different media outlets, so you can get a really good perspective of what's happening on the left, on the right, and center. And thank you guys for joining me here today. Make sure you visit unfilteredvisionnews.com. That is our app. It is a browser-based app, right? So we don't have the confines of the Apple Store or the Play Store. So you can actually type in unfilteredvisionnews.com and save it to your phone's front page, or you can save it as an app on your desktop and subscribe. You will get the full episodes because I don't keep the full episodes up. I'm also going to be putting in there some special content, and we also have merch that you can purchase, which I would appreciate if you did, because that's going to help me stay on the air, bringing you guys these articles and broadcasting and just giving you a different perspective on what's happening out there. So thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.